Yes, this is the news that a number of female mayors has, for the first time, overtaken the number of mayors called Andy. So, what did nobody see coming?
Well, everybody saw a Tory rout coming, and it was indeed a Tory rout. They lost 500 councillors. They lost the West Midlands mayoralty. They lost the Blackpool South by-election. And they lost their passion for life, Bill.
And at the end of the evening, the Lib Dems had won more councillors than the Tories. Now, that's bad.
And they had a sort of defection as well, didn't they? Yeah.
They did.
Natalie Elphicke.
Yes, let's have a look. Yeah, there she is.
At the last minute, just before Prime Minister question time, she defected. She crossed the floor, which is amusing because she's the MP for Dover and she's used to people crossing.
And also, she was about as welcome as a surprise visit from Matt Hancock.
Well, you sound like you're speaking from experience, sir.
A lady never kisses.
Charged with lying, hasn't he?
Yes.
With falsifying, with the big bus with the figure outside that was something like £320 billion a week goes through Europe or something like that. So
we'll have to be careful or they'll cut this out, and I don't want anyone to spoil the fun of thinking Boris is going to go to jail for life. Which, so, at the moment, we're just at the preliminary hearing stage about whether, when he was a public official, he was telling lies and therefore abusing his office. It should be an interesting trial. I mean, very similar to putting the Pope on trial and saying, are you a Catholic? He was sacked from then sacked from sacked by his own reprimanded.
Ian?
Yes?
We're not allowed to say anything that might prejudice the case.
Well, that's absolutely fair enough, because I would like him to have a fair trial with a desirable result of him being imprisoned forever.
Without wishing to prejudice the outcome of the case?
No, because we mustn't do that. I'm not saying he's guilty.
Would you like to see Boris Johnson?
Let's deal with your arguments. One of them is on the side of this bus. We sent 350 million to Europe. We don't. And you know we don't. No, we don't. You know we don't.
No,
Admit that that figure is grotesquely misleading at best.
I won't.
The true figure is 161 million, correct?
No, the true figure is 350 million.
In net terms, the real figure is 161.
If you take out the abatement and the money that comes back, the UK money that comes back via Brussels, the figure is obviously lower.
Matt Lucas is so good.
So where did David Cameron decide to start pumping himself up? Where did this happen? Yes. I mean, geographically, where?
Was it in the Goole area?
He was visiting the Institute of Chartered Accountants.
Oh, yes, I see.
Oh, that's a really pumped-up kind of place.
Exactly right. Yeah, do you want to have a little look at this?
Yeah. And if I'm getting lively about it, it's because I feel bloody lively about it. And if you think I'm going to roll over in the next 10 days and let Ed Miliband and Alex Salmond rack that, you've got another thing coming. Taking a risk, having a punt, having a go. That pumps me up.
I think that passes for hysteria amongst the accountants.
Yeah. As well as being bloody lively and pumped up, what else is David Cameron going to do?
He's not going to put up taxes.
He's not going to put up taxes.
It's more than that,
But how is he going to ensure
he's going to pass
by an act of Parliament
to stop people like himself putting up taxes? It's the most pathetic gesture I've ever seen. Saying, look, I can't be trusted not to just whack up income tax as soon as I get in, so I'm going to pass a law to stop me. Income tax, VAT and national insurance.
Yeah.
You know, in any government that comes in, historically, the first thing they do is they put up taxes, because they have to. And it's the only year you can do it where you're not worried about the election. So taxes will go up. He'll have to find some other ones. Or break the law and be arrested. Or maybe he knows he's not getting in anyway. Oh, the Kent police.
George Osborne was very good on this in 2009, when because Brown was talking about passing legislation.
Yeah, Gordon Brown outlawed child poverty.
Yeah.
Gone. Thank God for that. Don't have to worry about that anymore. It's against the law. No, it's finished.
The low point of the media coverage this week, I think, was the analysis of Samantha Cameron's feet. in various newspapers where there was a shot of her with her shoes off, and there were big close-ups, and all the experts were coming in to describe.
They thought there was a slight yellowing of the toenails.
Definitely a yellowing, and
could have been
how high heels were damaging her feet.
Was it in the Daily Mail? Was it saying Labour poisons Sam's feet?
Which football team does David Cameron support?
Aston Villa.
Well, he doesn't really know, does he? And he claimed to be an Aston Villa supporter, but then he said this in a speech.
Where you can support Man United, the Windies and Team GB all at the same time. Of course, I'd rather you supported West Ham.
He seemed to realise he'd said the wrong thing.
How did he explain his mistake?
I don't support West Ham or Aston Villa. I'm no interested in football. We played rugger where I come from. But a lot of people watch football, so I pretended to have an interest in it in order to gain their votes.
Oh, it's time now for the Missing Words round, which this week features as its guest publication, Ratitude. The magazine of the North of England Rat Society. For Northerners who don't find pigeons dirty enough. And we start with... Putin is what, says author?
Great bloke and I want to live.
Yeah.
Is it gay?
The answer is latently gay, says author. A new biography of Vladimir Putin speculates that he might be latently gay. The biographer is not the first to make this claim. The idea that President Putin is latently has been put forward by a number of recently deceased psychologists. Next, chimps take what?
Is it the fucking piss?
The answer is chimps take their owners to court.
No, they don't.
This is the story of a court case in New York in which 4 chimpanzees are seeking to be recognised as humans. The complexities of the chimpanzees' case have left legal experts scratching their heads, rubbing their asses on ropes and eating things from behind each other's ears. Next, from a rat PR point of view, what was very negative?
The bubonic plague.
No, it's the name Red-Eyed Devil. Next, Chinese girl had what in her ear?
British Prime Minister talking patronisingly. Got a flower in her head.
It was a fully grown dandelion. A doctor tried to remove it by blowing, but all that happened was he found out it was 3 o'clock.
Yeah, no, it was extraordinary. I mean, I thought it'd be terribly boring, like most conference speeches, but it was just fabulous. And I know a lot of people who are probably nicer than me felt very sorry for her. But I thought it was very, very funny.
It's a bad sign when a cough suite goes down better than you do.
She coughed so much, it felt like she was going to start coughing insects, like an actual horror film.
But it's that moment when you're talking to someone who doesn't really believe what they're saying, and they're saying, yes, I'm really the person for the job. And everything's going very...
Coughing does not do well for female politicians. Her and Hillary Clinton, their colds have destroyed them.
Well, Ian Duncan Smith used to cough a lot. Do you remember? He was another successful Tory leader.
He never had it that bad, though.
No, you don't think so?
No, it's a sort of much lower-level cough-based problem. Theresa May took it to... I mean, she weaponised. That was quite incredible. I can't believe you didn't feel any sympathy for her at all. Not even a scintilla.
Oh, dear.
I did.
I think I'm coming across as a bad person.
Awful. I only felt sorry for her because of Boris. I feel that that was such a bad day that it was almost a win for Boris, and I feel that's the only... So I feel like I hate him so much that you want her to have a better gig, you know. Why did she sack Boris?
She can't, can she, sack Boris?
Why?
Because if she sacks him, he gets to walk away from Brexit while simultaneously being able to claim that if he'd stayed in the government, it all would have gone much better than it's clearly going to go.
You know, she can't allow him the pleasure. It's like, you know, he's essentially an arsonist who wants to come back dressed as a fireman.
Yes.
Where's the fire? It was one of her... I mean, she's been accused of being robotic, so one of the Conservative backbenchers today was making the rounds in the TV studio saying she's made of very strong metal, which I thought was...
Well, people say that at a certain point, the Prime Minister runs out of luck. It just happens to you when everything's going wrong.
Yeah. It's like the end. It's like the complete end. She's not so much as occupying the office of Prime Minister as haunting it.
I mean, again, it's difficult to make up, but the first letter is F, so it's an F off.
An F off. 15% of respondents to a YouGov poll said that the speech had gone well. 15, which there's no way that could just be the cabinet. 15% of people, 15% of people watched that and thought, yes, that's gone rather well. Which makes you wonder what it would take to lower that number from 15%. She could have stood there and melted like the witch at the end of The Wizard of Oz. As she said, 12% think it went rather well. She's a puddle on the floor. 10% still think it's gone rather well. It's 15%.
Are you sure that isn't just members of the Labour Party?
What lie did Boris Johnson tell Robert Peston?
Was this the 350 million again?
Linked?
On the NHS?
Linked.
Did he say it would be reconsidered?
Yeah. He said it was in the manifesto.
Yeah.
Did she say it at the manifesto launch?
No. Not only did he lie, but he actually cheated as well, because he looked at Peston's notes in the hope of finding out what the question was going to be, and he was caught.
I didn't know what cheating you were referring to there.
You've suddenly adopted the character of a northern housewife. Have you heard about... Well, it's no surprise to me. He was rinsing out his own gloves last Saturday.
We haven't talked about Labour very much, so to head off any accusations of bias...
Are you leaving now to be replaced? The next round will be hosted by Michael Portillo. Come on, we can have a train round.
When it comes to Labour's manifesto promises, how did Shadow Foreign Secretary Emily Thornberry muddy the waters?
Was this Trident?
Yep.
She said there'd be a review, and the review might include scrapping it. Was that the problem?
And do you know who contradicted her and said it was Labour's policy to keep Trident?
Shadow Defence?
The Shadow Defence Secretary, that's right. This was Nia Griffiths, the Shadow Defence Secretary. Emily is not the Shadow Defence Secretary, I am.
You're doing it again! I don't know who that man was. She was in the pub on Saturday, but it wasn't her husband, I'll tell you that much. I know full well he's got a job in Peterborough.
Has anything happened?
Well, she's been to Brussels, and everything has changed.
Every week.
People say, oh, we missed Brexit Day, March the 29th. It's not happened. But if you listen to what they're saying in Brussels, they're saying, well, actually, we might give you another extension and we can still have a Brexit Day. And there are some people there who think, well, let's have it every year, every single March the 29th. Theresa May or somebody like her will trot off to Brussels and say, we'll have another 12-month extension, and Brexit will still definitely be happening, but we'll just sort of...
Yeah, you know. And we could tell everyone we've left and then just not mention it again.
Exactly. But Halloween, you know, is the next cut-off. Is October.
Do you think that was a joke by the Europeans?
It was a very good
joke. I think it was a joke.
But you've got Tory MPs going around saying, oh, well, we must dress up as something for Halloween, you know.
How about as MPs?
Well...
That's the former Prime Minister.
That's the 1922 committee, yeah.
That's the Queen. No, that's Andrea Leadsom. Oh, God.
At time of recording, who's Prime Minister?
Boris Johnson.
It is currently Theresa May.
Oh, right, of course.
But how bad have things got for Theresa May?
There's been another cabinet revolt. She won't even see her main ministers. She's now got a cabinet of two, herself and her husband. Even he's walking out. Everyone's gone. Andrea Leadsom's gone, you saw there.
Do you know what number Andrea Leadsom is on the resignation list under Theresa May? How many have gone?
36.
She's the 36th minister. There's a graph from the BBC.
A graph on a comedy show? This is
This is a graph of ministerial resignations before Theresa May, and here it is with Theresa May on it.
This is Theresa May's plan to end the Brexit deadlock. According to the Sunday Times, Philip May's emphasis has shifted to hoping his wife can escape from number 10 with dignity. Sorry, Phil, but however she finally goes, Colonel Gaddafi left with more dignity.
Quite right.
Brexit has clearly put a strain on Theresa May's marriage, but there's no way they'll split up, as Philip May knows negotiating a divorce deal would take years, and he'd need the support of Jeremy Corbyn. According to the Telegraph, MPs are sitting in the longest parliamentary session since the English Civil War. Or, as future historians will call it, English Civil War I.
The director of the Paris Archdiocese, Philippe de Courville, told The Times, "We tend to wait for things to become catastrophic before we take care of them." To which Theresa May replied, "Oh, you too."
If you really want to know what the members of the Cabinet are thinking, you have to watch Newsnight. Yes. And listen to Nicholas Watt.
I said to one Cabinet Minister, why is the Prime Minister holding a vote when she's pretty sure that she's going to lose? And using very strong language, this Cabinet Minister said to me, "Fuck knows, I'm past caring, it's like the living dead in here." Oh.
Following a tense meeting of the 1922 committee, evidence emerges as to who ate Sir Graham Brady's donut. Rees-Mogg was obviously very appalled by all this, but he does have his Facebook supporters group to boost his morale. Have you seen his Facebook?
No, well, it's actually been outlawed because it's based in Broadmoor.
Let's have a look at this illuminating forum. Just for interest's sake, are there any young folk on this site? Yes, I'm 55.
What has Boris done for the second time in 6 months?
Nothing.
Gone home in the same direction?
Finally, 72-year-old becomes the oldest competitor in what?
Young Conservatives leadership.
So this is the news that scientists have released the first ever picture of a black hole.
Theresa May is very excited about this because it's a whole new entity out there with which we might do a trade deal in due course. And she's just glad there's another despairing vortex sucking in all human life and light, from which there is no escape.
So as the good ship Theresa sinks slowly beneath the waves, who are the latest Tories to thrust themselves forward?
Oh, I don't like that expression. I don't think anybody in the Tory party can thrust. I don't think they've got their own hips.
I think everyone who's been elected ever as a Tory thinks I could do a better job than Theresa May. I mean, they're not wrong.
I think you have to have a photo shoot in your kitchen to get into the race.
Yes. This is James Brokenshire. Here he is, with his Meg.
Oh, that is a lovely
That's
kitchen.
him. I know.
And he's
Count
got...
the ovens, Tom. Count the ovens.
4 ovens.
That we know of. There could be more.
There could be more that come...
It was George Eustace who quit as farming minister in February. So let's see a colleague in the Scottish Parliament's alarmingly frank assessment of him.
I personally have met with Andrea Leadsom, and I've had 2 meetings with George Eustace, in relation to the cooperation in Suffolk.
Evidence emerges to show why agreeing even the most basic of trade deals has taken Liam Fox such a long time.
There's Gavin Williamson walking, which is something he's not denying.
And that's a brilliant bit of dramatised leaking.
Yeah. Oh, Helen Mirren's stuck for work. She's... Gavin Williamson has been fired for allegedly leaking secrets, but he swears on his children's life that it wasn't him. And he has been fired by Theresa May, which is unusual because she loves not firing people. She's a big fan of just letting people stay, Chris Grayling.
Normally, you know, if you sacked your defence secretary, it would be 3 volumes of a history book. But with this government, yeah, all right, he's gone.
Theresa May seems so definite that he did it that I'm assuming he didn't.
This is the news that Gavin Williamson has been sacked as Secretary of State for Defence over the Huawei leak. As The Guardian put it, Williamson is the first cabinet minister to go for a leak since 1986. How has Williamson responded?
He accused her of ingratitude. He said, I've saved your career twice, as though anyone's going to be grateful for that.
Yeah, that does mean prison, I think, if he admits to that.
I think maybe he did it, he just didn't realise. Because he seems very adamant that he did not do it. If you're going to swear on your children's life, that's...
Yeah, I don't think we should hold him to that.
But he said it, Andy.
Oh.
He said it.
Well, it's fine, though. He doesn't have any kids. So there you go.
Not anymore.
Or he won't.
Johnny,
Yeah.
you were in the army.
Yeah.
You sit on that committee. Is this a good idea?
No, I mean, it doesn't sound great, but the people who know this stuff seem to think it's all right, but, you know...
You don't sound totally lukewarm, even.
My political vim and vigour is on its last legs, I think. Much like the government.
The rest of the
Theresa Mayhem in her £900 coat. There she is, flying off to Brussels to be told what to do and say and think. The real Prime Minister.
On the left.
The traitor's kiss. The Politburo, or is that Bexley-Heath Council? And a man on a bike.
What are the rival camps calling Jeremy Hunt?
Sounds like...
I got it. Apparently Jeremy Hunt is called Theresa in trousers, or Tit for short. Did you see how Liz Truss dealt with the question on LBC?
No, but I can't wait.
What do you think of having another EU referendum?
A very, very, very bad idea.
But people can change their minds, can't they?
But they were told in the referendum in 2016 that their vote would be implemented, and the reality is the vote needs to be implemented.
But what about the people who've changed their minds between then and now?
I don't think people have changed their minds. Everyone I
have.
speak to... I have, that's true.
Who are you backing in the Conservative leadership election?
There isn't one. There isn't a Conservative leadership
Should there be one in the near future, if that's something we could
I
dare to
don't
imagine?
know if that's going to happen.
What are they doing running around trying to get each other's votes, then?
You're not going to believe this, but some of my colleagues are slightly more fixated with their own careers than what's going on in Brexit. I know.
Now, that is shocking.
Right. Absolute shock. So, yeah, some people are running around trying to be Prime Minister at a time of national crisis.
Including Mrs May.
Theresa May still have support among the grassroots outside the Westminster bubble. How did you get on in Wales this week?
She got heckled.
Yes, she did, didn't she?
Yep, she made a speech to local party activists. Everything went well for the first 5 seconds. Then...
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And...
Why don't you resign? We don't want you.
Catherine Honda.
Daily Mirror's not very gung-ho, are you?
It's all a load of nonsense, and it's Major trying to get some popularity at the last minute, and I don't think the British public will buy it. If you want me to be serious for a moment, which I doubt you do.
Well, it's good news for you, though. You've just discovered somebody who reads the Daily Mirror, because...
It's a more shocking discovery than I've just discovered Ian Hislop can read.
All the bitching
You wouldn't...
Because didn't you send
you should know all about complaints here.
But didn't you send photographers in to sneak up on this chap's wife while she was in a hospital or something, caring like that?
Yeah.
And you got ticked off for that.
Yeah.
And you probably had a go at Selina Scott's sex life.
Well,
and
we only said she'd enjoyed some smoked salmon down by a loch in Lomond. That was all.
A loch in Lomond?
A loch in Lomond.
There was only one loch in Lomond.
I don't know what...
Can't remember what it's called now.
The Queen...
No, the answer to this is...
Has someone complained... They all complained...
Only one of them was thrown out, which was Julia Carling. The rest of them were all...
So you lost 3 and Julia Carling...
Well, we didn't lose.
You beat Julia Carling.
We had 3 adjudications against us, which we tried to resist.
Sounds like 3-1 down to me.
Admittedly, we were left in a slightly vulnerable
you
position.
accepted the rulings, obviously, Piers,
Of course
didn't
we
you?
did, yeah.
As a paid-up member of the Press Complaints Commission, you said, fine, it's a fair cop.
Exactly. What are you getting at it?
No, just checking you hadn't been vindictive about it afterwards.
And in no way would I be vindictive unless it was Rupert Allison.
Oh.
Well, he's the one that brought a case against you, and then you went...
No, he thinks we've got a vendetta against him.
Which you have.
The one that you send your photographers to the south of France to photograph him. That Rupert Allison, is that the one? Just because he took a court case against you?
We have a vendetta against his party. There's nothing wrong with that.
But you left him alone until he brought a case against you.
No, he's always bringing cases against it. He loves it.
Well, let's not fall out over this. Have we got the points? Have we got the points?
The truth is, Julia Carling is the only one who was unsuccessful in a Press Complaints Commission complaint against...
Because they adjudicated that she'd invaded her own privacy.
They said that, unlike Earl Spencer, for
about
instance, who has sold his family photos to Hello Magazine repeatedly for lots of money, she had put herself into the public eye. It was deemed that Earl Spencer was entitled to privacy because, presumably, he's...
Well, his wife was entitled to receive treatment in hospital
without
being photographed having it. Probably was the ruling, the basis.
That was part of it, that was the part I'd concede.
But your proprietor agreed with the PCC, didn't he?
He did, yes.
You sort of got rather bollocked by Murdoch, didn't you?
Rather? I got severely bollocked, yes.
Did he? Were you sacked? You're now...
Sacked, did you say?
Were you sacked?
That's a very serious thing to say on television.
Did you get sacked?
I didn't get sacked.
I'm
glad you said it, because that's going to help pay for the holiday, thanks.
I can just imagine a jury finding for the editor of the News of the World.
It's almost like finding the editor of Private Eye, isn't it? By the way, Ian, you know where you live?
Yeah.
You're about to get a new neighbour.
You?
Happy New Year.
Well, actually, next-door neighbours are you going to be?
He'll be within long lens, I can assure you.
Is that a photographer?
He's a charmer, isn't he?
That's a man on a bicycle.
That's the Transport Secretary who missed his train. This is Railtrack, where we've sold off the rail industry.
Was that the Daily Mirror?
Yes, exactly. I use the collective we, as in you and I, Ian.
Oh, right, OK.
Right. And we've all made lots of money, all those who invested in it have, which I didn't, but I presume a capitalist like Ian would have done. And at the end of the day...
Have you two met before somewhere? And
you're very left-wing for a man who used to edit the News of the World.
He's very left-wing for a man who currently edits the Daily Mirror.
I won't go on, but the tragedy is that the poor girl that won had a terrible arthritic attack moments before she went on stage.
Piers, this is a comedy news quiz. Arthritis doesn't normally feature in that. A lot of sad stories that don't get on.
Well, you're here, Clive.
Yeah. But you won't be back.
No, your clue is Little Willie.
No, it's William Waldegrave.
Ian Hislop.
We've resorted to genital insult, have we? You and Paula Yates.
Well...
the cream of the nation's wits.
Ever a man of my word. Piers, your four unlikely companions are Rupert Allison, Sting, a koala bear, Geoffrey Clements, leader of the Natural Law Party.
Is the answer jam?
Not... in
so many
words.
Because last week Eddie Izzard said
so
everybody roared with laughter. I think it was hilarious. I just thought I'd say.
But people like him.
I will continue what I was going to say, but I was going to remind everyone that the PCC castigated the Daily Mirror in March for giving away the whereabouts of Robbie Coltrane's house, saying in some cases the publication of an individual's address might create a potential risk to that person. The Mirror apologised for any stress caused in a press statement issued by their editor, Piers Morgan, of 13 Woodcote Drive, Chigwell.
Actually, can I just say that they actually they rejected that complaint?
Did they?
By Robbie Coltrane, so you're entirely wrong to use that against me.
Oh, yeah, but they did say that...
I just thought I'd say that, in case the viewers got the
wrong
wrong idea by this vindictive attack on me, personally. Carry on.
You're feeling a bit vulnerable.
You're invading my privacy, and I'd rather you left me alone.
You've stepped into the public eye now, Piers. You were elected to come on this programme, you've got to take it.
I demand my privacy.
OK, we won't talk to you again then.